It's 2.17 trillion that has been approved by the National Assembly, and they've been given explanation on some of their reasons and actions on what the president proposed and passed on to the National Assembly. I'm being joined tonight by the spokesperson of the House of Representatives, Honorable Akin Rotimi. Is a member of the House of Representatives, or a member of the APC from Ekiti State. Thank you so much, Honorable, for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much for having me, Sheun. Good evening, viewers.
So let's get to it. There are a lot of concern Nigerians have about some of the items, and I'm very sure that you are also conversant with some of the agitations Nigerians are having on some of these items. But first and foremost is the suspicion and the rate and the pace which these supplementary budgets raced through passage. Can you explain?
Well, thank you very much, Sheun. And first of all, I must empathize with Nigerians, and based on all that is going on at this time, you'll understand that with the removal of the fuel subsidy, Nigerians are going through a whole lot. The standard of living has really dropped. A lot of people have fallen through the cracks, and there is need more than ever before for urgency on the part of government to be able to intervene to improve the lives of Nigerians. And in that light, you can understand why the National Assembly had to respond that quickly to the proposal from the executive arm of government for us to review the supplementary budget. You would see as well, Sheun, that the budget proposal was presented on Tuesday. And the House of Representatives, the National Assembly as a whole, jointly spent the whole of Wednesday deliberating on the budget, reviewing all the issues, and actually invited all the heads of the agencies that were relevant to the budget to come to the National Assembly to defend, all their submissions. So you had the Minister of the FCT, the Minister of Works, you had even the INEC chairman and his management, you had, you had all the heads of the agencies come to defend. And we did a diligent job, to be under Honorable Abubakar Bichi, to be able to go through all the provisions. And we saw no reason why we shouldn't expedite the passing of the supplementary budget.
Yes, some of the bills that concern a lot of Nigerians about their livelihood take a long time. This time around, there seems to be a rub my hand, I rub your hand kind of circumstance with you and the executive. And that those who believe that the proper scrutiny were not done on some of the items that are saying here that a lot of Nigerians have described as simply bogus.
So, the only rub my hands that we know of is the rub your hands with our constituents. Because this assembly has remained very close to the constituents. You see, when you talk about the speed of laws, bills, and motions, we've been very, very proficient in the 10th Assembly and all of that. So the only obligation we have is to the citizenry, is to the constituents. And for us, when you look at things like agriculture and food security, which was one of the major aspects of the supplementary budget, we see no reason. There's hunger in the land. People are suffering, Sheun. If the federal government has said these are provisions that are urgent, we see no reason not to expedite passing it. Now, when you talk about security, we're going through an insurgency. Almost every plenary day, you have a motion or the other that's related to security. So why do we want to delay, such provisions, of security? Why do we want to delay provisions that, are aimed at, bridging, housing deficits? Look at Abuja, our federal capital. Is everyone not worried about the state of insecurity? So why do we want to delay, provisions that would help us very quickly get our federal capital back?
Let's talk about those items. So when you and your colleagues say that Nigerians are suffering, it doesn't sound to a lot of the Nigerian people that you people actually understand the suffering. I mean, it looks like you guys are so much aloof with what is going on the ground, and it is in the manner in which you the reputation of the National Assembly hasn't been a good one for several years, and in some of the attitude and in some of the policy decision has not also shown that is a commitment, a nexus between the people and those who represent them in the National Assembly. And let me ask you, for example, there is a 28 billion line item allocated to the State House. Despite outcry by it, nothing was done to that line item. It was passed as it was.
Well, Shaun, so if you're talking about items in the State House, right, as you understand, this is a supplementary budget. A new administration has just come on board. The new administration needs to be given the right sort of environment to be able to function, the right tools to be able to function. You would see as well that there are certain other provisions that we made adjustments to. For example, you know, we feel the pains of students who need to be able to be concerned about how, they don't have to be concerned about how to pay for their fees. So you would see that we varied the amount that was initially proposed for the students' loan. It was practically doubled. And you'll see provisions as well that what's it called now? The presidential yacht that was, proposed under Navy, was removed totally. And so many other provisions that
I'm asking you in a specific question, and it's in the respect of the 28 billion. And part of it is the fact that there's a budget of 28 billion for the purchase of luxury vehicles for the president and the first lady, and the renovation of the residence, amongst other spending for the State House. At this time, in our country, do you think that the members of the National Assembly will be more circumspect in looking at the figures that is going into buying luxury vehicles? Or is it just because you yourself and your colleagues are also buying luxury vehicles and that's why you don't see any problem in that?
So, Shaun, just like you said, right, and I'll take you on that. You mentioned the idea of luxury vehicles, either for the executive or the legislature. Let me speak more for the legislature because, there's a lot.
I'd like you to touch on what you budgeted for the State House. You left it as it was presented to the National Assembly. Well, no scrutiny on that.
No, there was scrutiny. And there was,
so what was it that was changed?
What was it? There was a lot of defense. Now, a lot of those provisions did not change because we thought, yes, they actually need those vehicles, vehicles at this point in time to be able to start. It's a new administration.
You said that Nigerians are suffering.
Yes,
it's a new administration. Imagine that those kind of figures going to the executive arm of government does not show sensitivity to the suffering of the Nigerian people.
So, a new administration just resumed, right? This is a supplementary budget that is aimed at helping the administration to stabilize and to be able to hit the ground running as much as possible.
By buying luxury vehicles, Honorable?
You are shaping the narrative about luxury.
I'm asking a question. That is what has been captured.
You're looking at what tools
can Nigerians afford luxury?
It is not
for
luxury.
Any person that is representing them at this time.
So at this point in time,
isn't it sheer insensitivity to the Nigerian people?
So what you need as much as possible, right, is that if the presidency has asked for what it is that they need to be able to function, right, and they are given what it is to be able to function, Nigerians should be able to hold them to account as to what it is that they've been able to do with the mandate that has been given to them. You don't want anybody to have any excuses as to not having what it is to be able to function. And, I'll take you up on that. I'll mention as well that for us at the National Assembly, ours is to be able to hold the executive to account as much as possible. At this point in time, there's a lot, you see a lot of provisions for vehicles and things like that. And, we've had these conversations over time about made in Nigeria vehicles, about being able to patronize, companies in Nigeria, either assembled or all of that. And I'll bring your attention, Shaun, to the fact that there is a policy, right, of government that was passed as at May this year, right? The National Automotive, I'll just read the provisions. The National Automotive Industry Development Plan, right, that states very clearly is aimed at enabling exponential increase in the local production numbers of vehicles reaching 40% local content, attaining 30% in locally produced electric vehicles, enforcing patronage of those vehicles by government and companies working on government contracts. This is what media, civil society, and even the legislature ought to be holding government to account for. If you've said you need these vehicles to be able to function, and we say, okay, yes, you need to be able to function, and we appropriate those amounts to you, for you, we should be able to hold them to account that how many of these vehicles are going to be made in Nigeria vehicles. So that is the concern that we have. But for you to say a new administration...
were you able to scrutinize to the point to ask how many of those vehicles that the executive said they want, the presidency said they want, that are going to be locally made based on the automotive policy of the country?
Automotive policy is extant. We have the legislature.
It says about 40%.
Yes, and we're going to make sure, in our oversight, to make sure that these things actually follow through. So that is the concern for us.
They say charity begins at home.
Yes,
are you obeying this policy at the National Assembly?
So I'll tell you. You see, this issue of vehicles for the National Assembly, just like the previous speaker had said, it's a conversation that happens every 4 years. And it's just unfortunate that many times we leave this conversation late in the day. At the expiration of every tenure of office of the National Assembly, the National Assembly bureaucracy makes arrangements, right, for a new set of lawmakers that are coming in, okay? I said in my statement, and I was taking up on that statement quite a lot, I said in my statement that there's an extant policy for the boarding of vehicles. Why do we wait till 4 years after the former Ninth Assembly had already left with all the vehicles? A new set have arrived, right, without being able to have the right tools to be able to function. That is when we bring that conversation about vehicles. These conversations about the National Assembly procuring vehicles is a conversation from the preceding year before the resumption of a new assembly.
So the vehicles, the 360, the 360 Prado vehicles that is being purchased for your colleagues, and your colleagues, have been procured effectively by the Honorable Femba Gabi-Amila.
No, I didn't. I said the National Assembly bureaucracy. You have
that's a leadership,
that's different from the leadership show. Yeah. And what I said to you is that most of these procurements are prepared for, right?
Bureaucracy, including the clerk of the National Assembly.
I'm not going to
personalize the leadership of the bureaucracy.
I'm not going to personalize anything. But
so
you need to understand.
My question is that that process has been put in place before you resume in the 10th National Assembly.
Long before. And Sheung, I am providing details for us all to work on. Do you understand? Now, everybody is invested in the idea, right, about this issue of vehicles every 4 years. Why do we wait up until the point where this thing becomes an issue before we speak out about it? In my statement, if you look at it very well, Sheung, I stated very clearly that these are work tools that are provided for lawmakers to be able to function. And I provided very clearly, I stated it, that these vehicles don't belong to lawmakers. There's an extant policy that says after 4 years, these vehicles are deboarded. And I said, if that policy remains at the end of an expiration of a tenure, then members are given the option to buy. Why don't you wait until 2026 to be able to say, no, you're not going with these vehicles, this new
we don't need to get to 2026. Honorable, why are you not telling us how many of these vehicles have been deboarded? How many of these vehicles have been left? How many have been? If you want to be transparent, Honorable, if you're telling us that we are transparent, we want to tell you everything, why not start by saying the last lawmakers in the 9th Assembly, this is how many vehicles they've left out of the 360. This is how many of them that are fully paid for their own in the deboarding process. Can you tell us that today? So I can. Why not? I mean, instead of asking Nigerians to wait till 2026.
I'm not saying that. Listen very carefully. And I've told you. I said I'm invested in the idea of us having a lot more transparency. I've provided full disclosure as much as possible on this issue of vehicles. Go read my statement very well. I stated very clearly that every 4 years, these vehicles are, procured and then deboarded. And then I gave Nigerians, I gave civil society, I gave media, because I have a background in civil society as well. It's my concern as well that, look, instead of waiting until, procurements have been done and concluded, there's the opportunity to say what is going to happen to these vehicles. At the right time, hold the National Assembly to account.
Do you have information as to those who have left?
As to those who have...
In the 9th Assembly?
I can assure you that there is nobody. Look, these are government policies. There is nobody that can live with a vehicle if the person hasn't done the right thing as per the extant...
as those Prado jeeps arrived?
Yes. It's been, like I said in my statement as well, they've been delivered in batches because...
Have you received yours?
No, I've not shown.
Why? What's the delay?
Well, because it hasn't gotten to me, at this point in time.
They're delivering it in batches?
Yes. And
how many have they delivered now?
I don't have those exact figures shown, but the Tajini Abbas leadership has insisted that a number of criteria will be followed. So first of all, people with one form of disability or the other were given these vehicles. women were prioritized, and it's gone even, you know, in some sort of...
I'll take you back to what you said about just for a moment,
right,
about the automotive policy.
Yes.
You said 40%. That is what, and this is a government agency. This is a government arm of government.
And I'll
Can you tell us?
I discussed the policy with you.
Just a moment.
In all your conversations...
Let me ask the question,
right.
Honorable.
Okay.
You have said that the automotive policy, you read it, 40%. Yes. Can you tell us, out of the 360 vehicles, how many of those are going to be from locally produced vehicles?
So you can't be smart by half on this, show. You know by yourself, and it's very clear to Nigerians. This matter of vehicles broke on social media on a Sunday morning. Before 2 o'clock, we had a statement out because we're interested in the idea of being as transparent as possible about this. You know very well that the brand of these vehicles are Toyota Prados, right? I've told you that the point in time where those that are interested, people like myself that are interested in, look, if I was in the room where these decisions were made, of course, I'll make a case for why made in Nigeria vehicles should be bought. But I'm telling you, wait a minute.
I'm breaching the extant law, which says automotive policy has to be obeyed to the extent of 40%.
So if you listen, if you listen very well, Seun, and I'm explaining this to you, I said in the preceding year to the resumption of a new assembly, most of these procurements are provisioned for. As far back as, to my knowledge, as far back as the first quarter of this year, this is a policy that came in as at May 23rd. And I'm telling you, I'm pointing it out to you. If really we're interested in the idea of addressing these issues holistically and not just, to be honest, it's with all that Nigerians are going through, it doesn't sound right. It doesn't sit right. And for many of us, there are concerns about that. But I'm telling you that change takes intentional, deliberate steps.
Why are you not showing the attitude of change?
No, but I'm telling you on this.
And you have talked about the automotive policy. So it does look that you are in breach of that policy as a National Assembly.
The automotive policy came on stream as at May 23rd. I've told you that as far back as the first quarter. I've told you, Seun, if you are listening very well, that as far back as 2022, before the resumption of a new assembly, you don't wait until members resume. You make provisions for new members coming. At that point in time is when people have that conversation. And when we leave it, because, Seun, again, this whole matter goes out and then it sort of dies down. Remember, Seun, in previous assemblies, when they've addressed this issue of vehicles, previous people have been quiet about it. Previous assemblies have been quiet about it. This is different. Under the Tajuddin Abbas-led leadership, our legislative agenda is one of openness, of transparency. We were upfront about it, and we told Nigerians exactly. Perhaps the reason many Nigerians are even...
So somewhat like a fait accompli.
No, Seun, understand me. Understand with me. I'm going somewhere. One of the reasons why perhaps there's a lot of outcry and a lot of anger is because of how much details were provided. And it was intentional. So that let us move in that direction of change. When you have a new assembly coming on, 360 members, 109 members in the Senate, what is going to happen to the vehicles that were used by the previous assembly? Are we able to lobby? Are we able to do anything about changing that? But aside of that, Seun...
We are out of time.
Seun, you don't want to address the issue.
No, we are addressing it.
Legislators have a lot of work to do in terms of oversight, in terms of constituency outreach. A very important point, right, is the fact that no one, number one, should be at the mercy of the executive at any point in time in carrying out this. To be able to prevent...
We need to leave it at that because we are totally out of time. But I must appreciate your time.
Albeit
very difficult to defend, but I know that you're trying your best. And I've tried to listen, even at some point where you make statements that are very uncomfortable, but then it's because of Nigerians anyway. That's what we're here. Thank you so much, Honorable, for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me.